You have to set the boundary at the start with the client. And it's not about being a bad person. It's just about...
Have you had ever a client where meeting expectations has been a challenge?
Yeah, it happens all the time. In my second year, I had this one guy that was swearing at me on a Sunday, and I picked up the phone.
Hey Joey, welcome to Level Up with Sam and Bala. How are you doing today?
Very well, Sam. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. I wanted to start with a question that I'm sure is on pretty much 99.99% of the population when we talk about businesses. We're going to talk about goal setting. Now, from your perspective, and I might take you back in time a little bit, what sort of challenges did you go through around goal setting, and what did it mean to you in that initial period?
Yeah, I think goal setting, I think it's quite challenging for businesses because without goals, you move forward, but you don't perhaps move forward in the right path, or you don't really hit your targets or whatever your goals are in your business. But for me, when I first started, I actually set really, really, really easy goals. That way I get a little pump up that I did well and I kind of met that goal. So it kind of, you just set yourself kind of small targets, something that's really reachable that you know that you'll smash. And then once you hit that goal, be it a design goal or a financial goal, if you set really, really simple goals when you start your business, and you have low expectations to begin with, you actually excel forward really quickly because, you meet your targets and then you grow your targets every 6 months or, yeah, you can kind of use that energy and then to jump into your next goal and smash that. That kind of makes sense.
It absolutely does. No, thank you, Joey. If we talk about timing, were you very strict and disciplined about the time? Did you go, okay, I'm going to give myself a 1 month goal, then 3 months, then 6 months, and then a year?
Mm.
And is it helpful?
What kind of timing are you, in what context with time?
So if you gave yourself goals, actually, I do want to ask you as well, what were those goals? Were they revenue related? Were they customer related? What were they? And was there a timing that you attached to them that I want to be able to achieve this by, say, next month or 3 months or 6 months?
Yeah. So, I guess in business, I had both personal goals and financial goals. One goal might have been this year, because we're a design business and we do commercial interiors. So I just said, well, if I can do 10 or 15 projects in the next 12 months, and then you break it down into a more micro goal and say, well, that means I need to get one project per month. And then you just work out how you're going to do that. And so, yeah, my goals were, I think it was like one project per month, which had some financial number attached to it, which I knew that I needed as a bare minimum to like survive. And then within 12 to 18 months, I couldn't keep up with the goals. So it became quite easy, not easy, but less challenging to be able to reach, whatever goals I had because I had too much work.
So also, what sort of goals did you give yourself? Was it revenue related? Like you said already that there was dollar figure attached to it. Was it also, you've also mentioned about the delivery of the projects. So if our audience had to have a key takeaway, what kind of things should they focus on with goal setting? Because it can be really overwhelming. I know it is for me sometimes.
Yeah. So I guess I set up a bit of a financial model for me and said, well, this year I might have wanted to earn the salary that I had when I left my full-time job.
Yeah, right.
So that was my goal. If I can get to like 80% of what that salary was, and then year 2, I'll try and double it. And then year 3, so now as a business, I think we're doing like 15 times what my original goal was in the 13th or 14th year.
Congratulations.
So yeah, yes, thank you. But I I guess every business is different depending on a fee structure, but my goal was really to I think I had another job at the time. I was doing personal training, so I had some kind of cash flow that I didn't really have to try because that was like a kind of a casual thing that was and then I honestly did that for about 3 months. I was like, "I don't need this anymore." I enjoyed that fitness and those, I enjoyed working in that space about 15 years ago now. And then I thought if I can do that and then do, 1 project a month until I had, a contractor that could help me give me a chop out because I was working a lot of weekends to start with. Um, so yeah, with goal setting, I guess my goal was like, how do I get my balance of my life? I mean, at that time I was a lot younger, so my
Mm,
priorities weren't the same as they are today, but I just wanted to like, actually, it was get to the gym was my I wanna work, 8 till 5 and some Saturdays, make sure and honestly, I don't work past 5:30 for the last 15 years. So I'm not like we don't even in my business, I don't encourage long working. I think if we can be
mm,
efficient within the time frame that we have and because that's kind of how I always worked. Um, but yeah, I mean, for goal and then personal goals, there's this other kind of like, for me, I wanted to challenge myself with so you might have an uncomfortable situation with a client or a builder, or I think the first few years was about growing confidence and just believing in yourself that what if I say
mm.
that looks good,
That's a tough
it
one.
does look good, you know, just backing like believing the stuff that you say and actually like really at that confidence level for me for the first couple of years was a bit challenging. So one of my goals was how do I battle this? And I never shied away from like, I just made myself do things and faced
Mm,
challenges and didn't shy away from anything that was uncomfortable. That's both in business and in my personal life. That's what I like to conquer that fear, if you like. And yeah, like I had a couple of business coaches and, people with experience, like wisdom, people that, 60, 70 plus at the time, 70 plus that was giving me really good advice. So yeah, well, I guess it was personal kind of, qualities and how that relates into business, like shying away from, um, difficult situations, how to handle if someone's complaining about something. Just, I mean, those things happen in business. So for me, it was just like breaking through the barrier. And now I'm a better business person today because, I didn't avoid situations. So a lot of it's about personal and a lot of it obviously is financial. There's no point running a business if it's not earning an income or earning a good, financial model to it, then, it's kind of why you're doing it.
when when did you start? Was it right out of uni that you had the desire to start your own, or did you sort of work somewhere, got some experience, and you were like, okay, this is the way I want to take?
Yeah, so I worked in a few large, really well-known firms. Um, like there might have been 50 interior designers, 30 architects or project managers, like big, big firms, and it's all political. And to rise to the
Mm,
top, you need to really like
absolutely.
it's just a lot of it's kind of who you know and people would sit there till 7, 8 p.m. at night working away. It's like, "What are you doing?" And I was always the guy that left at 5 to go to the gym. Um, but I was a really good worker between 9 to 5. I was, like, smashing it out and doing things amazing.
Yeah.
But, in the end so I worked there for about 2 or 3 or 4 maybe I think it was 3 or 4 years I worked in these big firms. And then, I went off to a couple of, smaller businesses. So I think in total I worked for about 7 years, might have been, in other businesses. And it was really good because I guess in the big firms, they've got more budgets to have the correct personnel in the different departments. And you kind of get a good spectrum of like how they run their business. And then you go to a small company and realize, well, they got no money to like have a marketing person or do, have a person that just writes specifications. So like the role that we do day to day probably has 6 or 7 different parts to it. In the big firm, you have someone just doing one part. So when you're doing a
Mm,
small firm, everyone's kind of doing everything. So going to a small firms, I then because it's a lot smaller. Obviously, you have a lot more exposure. I learnt, more the side of things that you don't see in the big firms, like talking direct to the client, getting involved more in the project. And I thought, you know what, I can have a crack. I actually wanted to help grow that business, but the person I worked with at the time was just the headspace wasn't into the business. So I was like, well, not much opportunity. So I started my own thing. And then that's when I
Mm.
started PT. I thought I need some income. Then I just actually cold called 50 businesses to start with. And I got one client out of that, which grew to 40. It was the Australian skin clinics. They're like worldwide.
All right. Yeah,
They're
I've heard of them.
national. Yeah, yeah. They're a national company, and they also went into
Yeah.
New Zealand. So we designed like 40 of their stores, and that kind of was like the springboard kind of for my business. The stability. It's not like the kind of sexy, awesome jobs that we love doing, but it was like repeat business, and that gave opportunity to do other projects.
Mm. And built your cash flow on the side too.
Yeah, I mean that's right. It was stable revenue for the business, and I was able to grow from that. Um, and yeah, actually, it was I was quite lucky to land. And I hadn't cold called honestly after that since COVID. That was like a gap of like 7 years or something. And then in COVID when it was really dry, because
Yeah,
after
that would have been quite tough.
yeah, there was the first industry hit was like um uh transport, like all the flights and the tourism was the biggest one hit, and then it was the food space like cafes and restaurants. And we design a lot of cafes and restaurants, so
Yes.
we were depleted of all work. So we had to. Lucky the government really helped out, but I had to start cold calling again.
And did you get any leads from that cold calling? Was that any benefit to the business?
I think we did. I can't remember, to be honest. I'm just trying to think if we got someone another business. I don't think we had, to be honest, that second time, because yeah, I guess when you first start your business, you might have a bit more passion to cold call, and I had a little
Mm.
checklist. I had like a little Excel spreadsheet, like spoke to Sam today, said, oh, he's thinking about it, and call him in 2 months. Then I went back and called him in 2 months, and like it took about 4 or 5 months to actually get a lead out of the cold calling. Um,
Mm.
but then in COVID, obviously, by that time I had like 5 staff, and like when you've got people that work with you, you don't realize, but 80% of your time is gone because you're focusing on running the business, mentoring,
That's right.
or checking in with them. So I didn't really have the same time, um, but no, I don't think I was that successful, to be honest, in that second part in COVID.
Well, you sound like you've had a heck of a journey, if I may say, Joey. Um, and there's so much wisdom to pick from you too. I was already writing down questions that I wanted to ask you. Okay, so going to my next question, you've had your ups and downs. What was that one thing that kept you going through the tough times? Whether it may be COVID, the initial stages of you starting and diving into your business. What was that one thing? Did you have a clear vision, or was it just physical exercise that was like keeping you very resilient? Because I know it works with me sometimes, so I'm using that example. But what worked?
Yeah, for me, I think it goes back to that goal setting. Like I honestly, in business, every single month that I've been in business, we've met our goal. I can't think of what. I mean, obviously, COVID aside, I think the drive is I just love the hustle. I love like the chase of. I think I love the sales component to it.
Mm.
Like I really enjoy. I love like. I mean, I'm a person that likes to talk to other people. If
Yeah,
we're sitting beside each other, I'll chew the ear off. So I just love meeting people and listening to what they require, and I just have a passion for with what we do. It's interior design. So it's like I love the side of things where we solve a problem for a client through a spatial layout. Like they want to open a new business. It might be a cafe, it might be a clothing store, it could be a hairdresser or whatever. It could be an office fit out. We do a lot of offices. How do we solve their problem, and how do we build something that's really works financially for them operationally? So for me, I just love the drive. I just love being in the system. I just love talking to people. I love, mingling. So for me, my passion, I guess, to get through that I just kept selling. But yeah, obviously working out, I mean, I'm running these days, but there's still a lot more weights. So, um, I have young kids now, but before them, I was training every day after work. Now I like to go in the morning, and I find that if I don't go get that mental hit, then I can't really focus throughout the day. Or I
Mm.
just think that you need to clear your mind. You need to have some kind of passion or something outside of work that gives you a reason to leave, actually. Because if you've got no reason to leave, you end up just spiraling into just working all the time. And your mind needs to have a rest if you because with consulting, like if you're not doing physical labor, you're probably doing some kind of consulting. You take work home subconsciously, even if you don't want to. So you need some kind of out. And for me, it was just training in the gym.
Wanted to ask you this. Initially, when you started out, were you picking your projects? Or were you like, okay, bring on the work because I do want to build those testimonials and build my business. So I'm not going to say no to certain projects, even though you may be inclined to say no. How was that journey like?
Yeah, I mean, you're a bit of a slave to like your work at the start. I mean, you just
Mm,
kind of take on what you can get, and you just build a reputation, and you build up some kind of folio and some work folio. So, um, yeah, I mean, you just have to take on the project, and it's sometimes the smallest doors open the biggest ones. So sometimes you do a job, it's like, even I'll be honest, even today I do jobs that I'm like, probably not the best job for us, but I've learned from the past that if you have this attitude of, "Oh, I'm not that I'm too good for this," but if you have this attitude of, "Oh, well, I don't need that. Well, I don't do that type of work," that's good. But
mm,
sometimes
yeah.
if you don't judge a book by its cover. Sometimes those people that you get to meet
Mm,
know someone else that can give you a next really big job that can take you off. So I don't say no to small jobs. The only time I say no to a job is if I don't like something about the person that I met that gives me bad vibes, like they're untrustworthy, or I think they're just kind of fishing for information. Like, but yeah, they're the only jobs that I'll turn down. I'll even sometimes do love jobs to help people out, even if it's not really financially doing well for the business. Sometimes I think, you know what, that person's a good bloke, or she's really good to deal with. I'll help them out, and then that sometimes has grown to other opportunities because people, at the end of the day, for interior design,
mm,
there's everyone's got the same spill. Everyone thinks that their process is the best, and they do it their way. And this is everyone's got their own little spill, but at the end of the day, we're all kind of the same. So, like, what people really want to work with is you,
mm.
not. I mean, yeah, I mean, sometimes it's just about the project and the experience, but often it's actually about the person behind the business that they want to work with rather than your business itself, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely does. And it is such a good reminder as well because, sometimes people do forget when they start their journey. And I know this has happened with one of my friends as well. Like she got really burnt out and I think somewhere she forgot the essence that it was her end of the day. She's great with people and she's just got to do what she's good at. Um, but somewhere I think she took too much on, um, just that boundaries didn't work and it just ended up in a bit of a burnt out. Actually, on that note, at what stage of starting a business would you start drawing boundaries? And what would be the factor that would lead to it?
Um, then the time boundaries, I've always only worked from 9 till 5, and I think if you're running the business correctly, in terms of like, if you're there's a number of factors of what you qualify as if you're running a good business. For me, it was um, if the business is financially performing, then that's a good business. And I'm only going to work between 8:30 and 5:30 max. And that's what I've been doing from day one. I think 'cause I've had that mentality from the start. I've stayed within those boundaries. And every time, I mean, if you're going back to what I was just saying there, if you're running a good business, then you should be able to afford to employ someone to ensure that you're not overworking. And
Okay.
if you know, yeah, if that makes any sense, like even a casual, someone to give you a bit of a chop out so that you're not working longer. And then you need to work on your fee structure or what your services are, and then alter them to meet your, yeah, I mean, to be profitable. Otherwise, you shouldn't be working long hours. I don't feel.
Even initially, like first 6 months of starting you, going on your own.
As I mentioned earlier, yes, the first probably year I was doing most Saturdays,
Mm,
because I was just trying to keep up. I think the hardest part might be that first year, year and a half, just until you build enough. Some because I guess what happens is you can't control. It's not as if you get the opportunity to do the work in your time frame when you want, how you want, at your pace. Sometimes you get no work for like a month, and you got to do 3 jobs in 3 weeks. So you don't get the luxury of choosing how you do the work. Something, especially in what I do, people are signing leases, or they just
mm,
you know, purchased a property and they need to settle and they're paying rent till rent kicks in. So it's very much a high paced environment where you have to just go. So you kind of just got to say yes to everything.
with you.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, you don't get the luxury at the start. I guess once you got enough volume of work or enough amount of work in terms of dollar value, you can probably try and spread it out a little bit. But at the start, you just kind of take what you can get. You just got to, I guess, do it, which is why I think I worked Saturdays.
Mm, as you were building that up. If you would think about three key takeaways that I could walk away with today and our audience around how I could effectively manage my time in the early years of business without getting burnt out.
I think it goes back to goal setting is one of them. And I think it's also being upfront with the client as well. So sometimes clients don't have any kind of like they don't really understand the time it takes you to do something. They just think, oh, it's quick. So setting the boundaries at the start with the client and going, hey, no worries, I'll have it to you by Tuesday. And
Mhm,
communication is the next one. So if you're very clear up front with the project timeframes, and you almost set the goals as long as it works within their time frame. Give them those little sub milestones. I think that's key. Without that, you actually can't manage your time because you've got nothing to work towards. The other thing would be, um, I would say, ensuring that you. I think a lot of it is about the stuff that you're not doing at work. So, like, have the rest time, the appropriate rest time, so you don't burn yourself out. Again, it's again making those boundaries, setting that time as like, I'm going to go to the office at 8:30. By 12, I'm going to get this done. And if you haven't done that thing by 12, then that's it. You stop it and you do the next thing that you were planning to do that day because you promised someone else something. So it's like, I think it's about the macro. Like my day, even today, my calendar is full of all different colors, which represent all different things. Yellow's for meetings, blue might be financial, and you have to send these invoices, or like there's so many different. So I guess I've always had a strict time goal, day by day, half day by half day. If you're doing 10 things at once, or if you're managing, because you don't get the luxury to just deal with one person, you might have to deal with 5 people. So you just kind of set those targets,
mm, well, that's very cool.
and just stick to them. You just have to stick to them, and sometimes you just got to get it done. Find a way. Just work through and just get it done.
Color coding works.
Yeah, just got to be really, really like clockwork, and really just stick to what you say you're going to do. Otherwise, it won't happen.
Has have you had ever a client where meeting expectations has been a challenge that they've just pushed you and your team to the limits and they go, no, 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 I want the results delivered by a week, and you're like, it's probably not going to happen. It's going to take 2 weeks because we need to put in the research, we need to contact our suppliers, and whatever that may look like. Has it ever happened that you got a difficult client like that?
Yeah, it happens all the time. Like if we do 50 projects a year, there's probably 4 or 5 clients that have that expectation. But often I find it's because they themselves aren't really experienced in what they're doing.
Yeah, right.
And
Okay.
I had this one guy that was swearing at me on a Sunday, and I picked up the phone in my second year. Um, why isn't the builder, like, I referred a builder to him, and the builder didn't show up. He wasn't doing, so basically someone else wasn't doing what they promised they were going to do, and because I introduced them, he was having a go at me, and I was just like saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like, I guess it's if you have to set the boundary at the start with the client, and it's not about being a bad person; it's just about being reasonable. So, like, if you just tell them at the start, "Hey," I think they can read. It goes back to the confidence thing I said at the start. If you are a bit of a pushover, then people can see that, and they will, even if they're not purposely doing it, they are pushing you to the limits because they know that you won't say nothing. However, if you stand your
Mhm.
ground early and you set the precedent, they respect you more for it, actually. And then all your problems are solved from the start of the project. So for me, it took me a few years because on a on a personal level, I'm not a very I guess I was a bit shy, and I'm a people pleaser. But through business, I've become very confrontational. In fact, to the extent where I quite enjoy it, where it's like, and often, as I was saying, I was saying earlier, often it's the person that you're working with. They're probably not professional themselves. Their lack of experience is why they're pushing you. Because any reasonable person would not be acting that way. So the quicker you just get on board with it and go, oh, yeah, whatever, you still try your best to deliver. No, I'm serious. You still try your best to deliver, but at the end of the day, time is time, and you just have to you get that. Some clients will be amazing, others will be hard work, but the ultimately, we've always kept relationships with everyone because we do the right thing. But you just have to sometimes put that to your back and ignore that, and just it is what it is. You can't just yeah, or just go off the flow sometimes.
Yeah, it is tough, and I think it's a very, very tough balance as well. Having that, like you said, it is setting the expectation at the start, and sometimes it's the communication, isn't it? It's the comms piece. Yeah, and it's common, isn't it? Even when we work for someone, and I'm sure you would have gone through the same journey, and you could see the gaps in comms, and you go, "Oh, this could have been done better by just an email or somebody talking to you." It's literally
Mm.
that.
I'm glad you brought it up because honestly, communication is key. If you're not, I mean, I say to my team, you need to email the client 3 or 4 days because a project of ours might be a 3 months or could be 3 weeks or could be 6 months.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, what people don't like, I've discovered in business is everyone wants to feel like that you're doing only their project and they have this exclusive kind of service, right? The reality is you're doing 10 other things in the background and you're trying to run a business. And then when you have a team, your team is looking after clients, and you can be a bit overprotective. And so for me, I always was like, even if we've done nothing this week because we're not doing anything because the job's on hold, it's in council or whatever, you need to communicate with the client because they need to feel like, oh yeah, they're on top of things. If the moment you lose that trust, then it can be very hard to. So I've always been really high on keeping those relationships with our clients, and not even just clients, any other third party people that we work with on a project. You need to be in communication all the time, and people, if they know what's happening, they're usually more chill with the process. So I've always been big on that customer service kind of communication.
That is awesome. Yeah, and it is actually a big part. And you are so right in saying that they all think that they are the only client, and also that everybody wants to be treated like a prince or a princess. You know what I mean? That's the kind of analogy I give. They all want to feel special.
Yeah, and look, I actually agree. Like, if I was on the other side of the fence, I'll be like, yeah, I'm the same. So it's just like, but the reality is that you can't because you wouldn't be in business. So yeah, it's just a matter of communication and just updating, keeping across things.
So my next question for you, Joey. When you first started your design studio, what did your revenue look like compared to now? And what changed in how you think about generating consistent income as a creative business?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, when you start your business, it's all I wanted to achieve was my salary that I had at the time of my previous employee. Um, and and I had the baby steps to meet my targets, which I actually found that after 6 to 9 months, I'd kind of smashed that. And I kind of said to myself, I should have started this a lot earlier. Because I love interior design, but it's back then it wasn't the most highest paid industry. So it's kind of the design, the arts type of thing. And then now I would say it's, yeah, probably 15 times the amount, or sometimes more, sometimes less, but it's pretty consistent. And what I learnt along the way, probably I guess we're a mature business now, but we only have 5 or 6 of us. But in terms of the business, you have kind of 3 stages where you start, then you're like a bit like an adolescent, and now you're kind of mature business. What I learnt what how to do probably in my third or fourth year was how to sell our services correctly, and it took me a long time to understand that I was doing a lot of things in my business that actually I wasn't really getting paid for. It goes back to just the other question, you just do what you got to do to get it done without realizing I could be charging for this service that I'm giving for free at the moment. And then, so I looked at the traditional way um, that some design studios might, you know, charge their services for. I broke mine into like 8 or 9 different stages. And I looked at basically what value do I add? How can I add value to um, this client? Like what are all, I wrote down all the things that I do for them in terms of, it could be designing floor plans, it could be designing concepts, it could be finishes boards, it could be town planning, it could be doing all these construction drawings. That we do like 10 or 15 different things that I was at an early stage basically selling as a package. And I actually broke it up into 10 things and said, well, if you want this, this, and this, it costs this much. If you want that, that, and that, that's going to be extra. And I started doing more of the things that I love doing as a business and less of the things that I didn't like doing. And the things that I hated doing, I would probably charge a bit more so that they say no. No, so they say yes to the things I like doing. And um, over time, I'm just doing now mainly the things that we like doing.
Mhm.
And and that kind of helped me I looked at my business and said, right, these things take the longest, and those things are like the quickest or the most enjoyable. So I'm basically just slowly, it took me years to mold that into what we do today. But ultimately, what I was doing early versus what I'm doing now, the outcome's still the same for the client. I just modified how I did things, and I was able to learn how to charge differently for them. And yeah, I mean, it's made us be able to grow and employ someone in marketing. Because if you just
Mm.
keep your blinkers straight in one line, you end up. I mean, that's why you can be burned out, and that goes back to what I was saying before about not, if you know how to run your business properly. Because a lot of people know how to run. They know how to. They're really good technicians, or they're really good creatives, or they're good at what they do, but they don't have any idea about how to run a business. And
Mm.
it only takes years of experience to actually get that and work it out. So I always try to look for ways that how can I do this smarter? What other ways can we do this? Um, but yeah, so that was quite a long journey actually. Wish I knew that when I was in my second year, not in
When
my
they start.
sixth year, because I used to have a lot of hair here and just disappeared.
Well, that's wisdom, isn't it?
I think
It
it's
is
you just
wisdom.
learn it over time.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you could. I sometimes ask myself the same question. Um, And I'm sure it would be the same with our audiences listening, that we always tell ourselves that, "Oh, I wish I knew that at that time," but that probably wouldn't have been the right time to know it anyway, because the
Yeah.
benefit comes in. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you look back, you go,
Yeah,
"Oh, I may not have been ready, even if that opportunity presented to me right at that moment."
that's right.
And I always do that reflection.
But I know some businesses at the time actually that I was quite envious of because they were doing these things already. And I was like, man, I should be doing this. It's, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely sometimes you need to live through it to actually understand it. And
Yes.
I'm not sure if I've correctly articulated myself, but I reckon you need
No,
to
yes, you have.
actually live
Yeah.
it to understand it.
Joey,
But
thank you
yeah.
so much.